Who remembers the old Leonard Nimoy show In Search Of? Okay, for you younger people. This was a show in the 1970s that investigated paranormal phenomena and unexplained things. This was not hard-hitting journalism. And at the end of every episode, Nimoy would come out and he'd say something like, "Are UFOs visiting this planet?" Or, "Does Bigfoot roam the forests of Nova Scotia?" We may never know for sure. But these people that we talk to, they believe. This was absolutely captivating to a young boy in the 1970s. And I started reading everything I could get my hands on about these kind of subjects. The Loch Ness Monster and Atlantis and psychic powers and the Bermuda Triangle. And all of this made me feel that these fantastic things were not impossible. In fact, they were plausible. And I wanted them to be part of my life. So I tried to find anything magical or poetic or paranormal that I could bring into my life. I bought tarot cards. I had a lucky rabbit's foot. I found a dollar coin on the street one day and decided this was my lucky coin. I would flip it to make important decisions. As I continued through school, I learned a few things like how the scientific method works, and Occam's razor, and confirmation bias. And these things shredded my belief in the paranormal. And I had to admit that using facts and logic to make decisions worked better than my lucky coin. So by the time I had reached whatever semblance of maturity I have, I had shed most of those unreasonable, magical, poetic, paranormal thoughts, which made things very difficult for me when I received a magic iPod. The iPod was an engagement gift from my then fiance, now wife, and I'd been coveting one for a while. And she got it for me, top of the line, 80 gigs. And do you remember when you got that first MP3 player and you could take your entire music library with you in your pocket? That was wondrous enough. Then my iPod started sending messages to me. And it did this in a very particular set of circumstances. In order to get ready for the wedding, I was trying to get in a little bit better shape, and I was exercising. One of the things I was doing was I was taking a walk at lunchtime every day. And now that I had my great new iPod, I could listen to my whole music library. And I always put it on shuffle because I loved the randomness of it, and whatever songs came up, that was the soundtrack of my walk that day. About a month after I got the iPod, I was getting ready to go out on a walk. And I looked outside and it was overcast. So I went online and checked the weather forecast. And it was a 50-50 chance of whether or not I was going to get caught in the rain while I was out. I decided I'd just go ahead and chance it and I'd rush back if I needed to. So I hit shuffle on my iPod. And the first song that pops up is a song by Sting called Heavy Cloud, No Rain. And I kind of smirked at that, went on my walk, and was perfectly dry the whole time. I probably would have forgotten this ever happened if it hadn't happened again 2 weeks later. Same circumstances, overcast sky, indeterminate weather report. This time I hit shuffle and looked to see what might come up. The very first song was by my favorite band, a local Northern Virginia band, actually, Eddie from Ohio. Any fans? Yeah, a few heads out there. The song that came up was And the Rain Crashed Down. I decided to skip my walk. And about 15 minutes later, when I would have been halfway through my walk, the farthest from shelter I could possibly be, the heavens opened and the rain crashed down. So for the next few weeks, I took special note of whatever the first song was when I started my walk. And no new messages came up until the end of the summer. It was one of those great days when the heat is just starting to cool down a little, the humidity's gone away, and most important, a clear blue cloudless sky. I was eager to get out on my walk, so I'd sort of fallen out of the habit of looking at the next song. I hit shuffle and was somewhat taken aback when Billie Holiday's rendition of Stormy Weather came up. I looked out the window, blue sky. Well, I chuckled to myself again, this time because I realized I'd let myself start thinking in these superstitious ways again. And I made a quick vow not to do that anymore. Got started on the walk, didn't even go 5 minutes, and my iPod shut off. It completely bricked. And I'm standing there with it. It's like, I've only had this thing for like 3 months. And I decided I'm going right back into my office. I'm going to look up on the internet, see if I can fix this or if I need to make an appointment at the Genius Bar. I rush into my office building and almost plow into a friend of mine, a guy named Diego. Now, I'd met Diego doing community theater a few years before. He happened to work in the same building, and I hadn't seen him in a few months. So I apologized profusely to him, and he said, "No, Jack, I am so glad you almost ran me over. I just went by your office. I was trying to find you. This is my last day. I'm about to get in the car and leave. I'm moving to New York tomorrow." If I had waited and stayed in my office when stormy weather came up, Diego would have found me there. If my iPod had not bricked at the exact moment it did, I would have missed my chance to say goodbye to it. So, have I fallen back into looking for signs and portents in my life? No. I still believe that rational thinking is the best way to go through life, and I still believe that there is an explanation for everything. But I also believe this. Every now and again, something wondrous falls into our lives. And it's unexplainable, but it also doesn't require an explanation. When these things happen to me, I call them poetry. The universe sending a verse. And I just accept them for what they are.